live here and get this whole thing done. I just need to look at one quick thing and then we'll get this started. We're a minute or two early anyway, so. Just make sure that
there it is. I see us now.
All right, there's the big echo. So we're live in the group.
Okay.
But now I need to shut it up. Sorry.
Yeah, that feedback and the echo is.
Okay, there we go. So that's done. Let me just check one other quick thing. And then we'll get going here. It's almost 11, guys. So we're just kind of giving people a minute to jump on. As you can see, we have the lovely Carrie Casserly joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Here. Yeah. Okay. Hey everybody, it's Dave and Carrie is joining me today. We're going to talk about growing a business and how to build this thing and some of the sort of strategies that get involved with that and a lot of the, I guess, struggles and successes that go along with the whole process of growing this business. It's something that I think, unfortunately, most people don't get to the point where Carrie's at. And a lot of that is because there's a lot of frustration that happens along the way, and there's a lot of things that happen along the way, which is going to be true with any business, not just ours. And I want to talk about some of that stuff today and just kind of get into that. But I want to just start by, for those of you who don't know Carrie, having Carrie just kind of introduce herself, talk a little bit about how you got involved with Beachbody, and let's just kind of start there.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you for having me on this call. This is exciting. I always get nervous too. So no matter what, I'm always nervous when I get on calls like this. So I just realized today that I'm going to be a coach for 10 years on October 3rd, my 10-year anniversary. But my first few years were discount coach. I never did anything with a business. Let's see. I started off because I saw somebody post about Shakeology on Facebook, and I still had about 15 to 20 extra pounds from having Clark, who was then 4 years old. Okay, so you couldn't call it baby weight anymore. And I was also kind of at the beginning stages of going through a very long separation, divorce type of situation. So that was all kind of happening at the same time. Initially, I thought, well, let's lose this weight. I want to try the Shakeology. I lost 13 and a half pounds in just over 1 month. And that was just from drinking Shakeology every day. It helped me with cravings. I was still going to the gym. I still had never done a Beachbody workout program. So it all started with the shakes. And then one of my friends said, you got to try Insanity. I was like, okay. So she sent me her DVDs. I never even bought them. She's like, here, I'll send them to you. You got to do this program. You guys, I fell in love with Shaun T. He's like still my soulmate trainer. I love him so much. So much so that I'm now certified to teach Insanity, which I do at the gym. And I also teach Transform Live. When I started drinking the Shakeology and I started kind of seeing the progress and the changes, it was so easy to start sharing that with people that I knew. I had people at my gym saying, Carrie, oh my gosh, what are you doing? I was taking group fitness every morning at 9:30 a.m., Monday through Friday. So they're seeing me losing weight and they're like, well, what are you doing different? We're all in the same class together. So I started telling everybody about Shakeology, and just as natural progression occurs, they were actually ordering it from my coach. I was sending them to her. And then that's when my coach at the time was like, Carrie, you should totally sign up and be a discount coach, or you can have them order from you. And I was not interested at all in MLM. I had already been there, done that with a therapeutic magnet company that I invested like $5,000 into and lost all of that money. Was like, bye-bye. I ended up getting rid of it. And like, I gave it all away, basically. Probably dumped it somewhere. But I just didn't have like a great taste in my mouth for MLM. And I also didn't think that I had it in me to do, like, I was not someone that considered myself a business person, entrepreneur, somebody that could like make a lot of money in an MLM. So I just started doing the activities that were fun to me. I started sharing about the products that I love, just like you would share something if you were, tried a new restaurant and you loved it and you were telling people, oh my gosh, you got to go to this restaurant. It's amazing. I was doing the same thing. So making a sale did not feel icky to me at all. I knew that when people were ordering or when they were asking me about what I was doing, it came from the heart because I was experiencing the changes personally. Which is why we all have to be a product of the product. Because if you're not doing that, you don't really have any passion there, But then what had happened is I started seeing these little paychecks coming in. I was like, oh my gosh, this is exciting. So at the time, I was in a relationship where I had zero financial control. I had to ask permission if I wanted to get a manicure. I had to ask permission if I wanted to go shopping for something. I was not a breadwinner. And I just wanted my own source of income, even if it was $30 to go to Starbucks or go get a manicure or pedicure. And it started to grow from 30 to 70. Some weeks I would have zero. And then one day a light bulb went off. I remember where I was, but I don't remember the time in between. But all of a sudden I realized, like, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I have zero income. My marriage was falling apart. I felt like I was dying inside, being stuck in that relationship. And I knew something had to change, but I knew that I did not want to leave my kids and go back to work. I didn't even know what the heck I was going to do if I did go back to work. So I decided at that moment, let's just work a little bit harder. Long story short, here I am 5 years into this full time. And it took a little while. You guys, it doesn't happen overnight, but I did the things. I showed up every day. I took it more seriously, like as a business. I started to see, like, wow, if I treat this as a business, it's going to pay me back as a business. And the money I was making, I started saving. I started paying off little credit card debts that I knew were in my name, like in the marriage. And now here I am, like I'm making full-time income. I love what I do. Ryan is a hairdresser full-time, but I will proudly say that my Beachbody income is more than his full-time hairdressing income. And he will proudly say it too, because we work as a team and we definitely both work together very hard.
Oh, that is awesome. So let's talk a little bit about it. I think that the 10-year anniversary thing is really cool. It's exciting too. Let's talk a little bit. Let's kind of go back, actually, is what I really want to do, and kind of go back to, those early days. And I remember, talking to you fairly early on, and just kind of getting to know you. I was kind of digging around and looking for people to work with and trying to figure out how to mentor people. I didn't really know. I just knew I needed to figure it out. And, you were one of those people that, fairly early on I started talking to. Mm-hmm. And then had some kind of early success. And then there were some struggles. And talk a little bit about that. And I guess with a focus on what'd you learn?
Okay. Yeah. So when I decided to do this as a business, I remember I joined Dave and Monica they called it the Diamond Mine Group. And I was living in Minnesota at that time. It was before my divorce, because it was like my final thing of like, is this going to work or is it not? So I joined this Diamond Mine Group, and I just decided, like, I realized after talking to Dave what it was, I wanted to go diamond. I just knew that was a natural next step for me to progress to. And if I wanted to grow a business, I needed to get to that point first. So I carried around a little notebook. And I remember I was working or volunteering, working at home. I started working at Lululemon part-time, and that's how I was getting a lot of my customers. And I just did the things. I remember I would not go to bed at night until I had 10 things checked off on my little notebook that would help me grow my business. And it was PD, drink my shake, do my workout, invite some people on Facebook, post on Facebook. And I got to Diamond. It was awesome. And then I was at Diamond for a long time. And I continued to grow and do the things. But once you get to Diamond, you've got to find people that also want to duplicate and also want to, grow their own business, because Diamond is like the actual last step you can get to all by yourself, if that makes sense. I mean, you have a team, but now when you go Star Diamond, you need some business building people that see the vision, that see that there's opportunity here for income and for helping lots of people and all of that. I can't remember who my first diamond was. Isn't that bad? Like, I don't know. It what the heck? I feel like it was Jen Lemke. Maybe it was. Because here's the thing, you guys, I had all my friends that signed up as coaches and they were strictly discount. And I'm like, okay, cool, discount coach, I can deal with that. And then the thing I want to say is never give up on your discount coaches. I would always say, come on, you guys, like there's a new coach training happening over in Fit Club Network, or Lee Rauterman's doing this thing. Like, you should join. Finally, the light bulbs went off for a lot of these people. Agatha Hayes, Tracy Vittorini, Jen Lemke, all discount coaches who are now Star Diamond or close to Star Diamond coaches. You know, so you never know who will be that blooming flower on your team. I will say I was 1-star for 3 or 4 years. I remember telling Lee, I don't know how much more I can grind. I don't know how much more I can do. Like, I'm just not growing. Nothing's happening. I'm recruiting. I'm digging. I'm climbing out of this hole and sinking back down. And I just kept going. And she'd be like, it's okay. Just keep doing what you're doing, Carrie. Just keep doing the things. And I think that's the biggest lesson that I learned, is that no matter what, when it feels like nothing's happening in your business, but you're still working, it's happening in your business. Things are happening. It's just the way that the laws of the universe just work that way. It might come at a snail's pace for some. Some people might build really fast, and that's great. But I think the biggest lesson that I learned was you just can't give up, and you can't stop doing the things. Like, if you do, you know, I remember I went from 1-star for 3-4 years to 4-star in one day, because I had diamonds on my one leg and I couldn't, you have to have one on each side to go 2. So I went from 1 to 4-star, and then I kept going and I went to 6-star. So I built up to 6-star diamond, opened my second business center. And then I don't know if you want me to, do you want to take over from here, Dave?
No, not yet. Oh, okay. I want to, well, first of all, I want to expand on one of the things you talked about, which I think is super important. There is a unique phenomenon here in this business, I think more than certainly any other business I've ever seen, where the result lags behind the activity, sometimes rather significantly. Okay, and that can go in both directions, right? There's a period of time where you're working really, really hard and not a lot is happening, right? And then all of a sudden, all these results come about, right? It's all the activity that leads to the results. It happens in the other direction too. You know, if you stop working and you stop doing all these things and recruiting new coaches and training people and, you know, bringing on customers and just doing kind of the daily do, you won't see the result of that right away. Your paycheck will stay the same. Your team will kind of continue to grow, but eventually that lack of activity will lead to a result that you probably don't want, which is that your business is going to kind of fall apart. Not kind of, it will eventually. So it's important to understand that, right? And I think that's one of those things that the more we talk about it, the more helpful it is for people to just understand that that's one of the things here, is that often the results just lag behind all the activity. So you just got to get busy and you got to get in motion and you got to put the pieces in play, you know, so to speak, use like a chess analogy. You've got to be playing the game. And then eventually you're gonna see the results if you're doing the right things. You know, now some people are busy getting ready to get ready. Some people are busy doing things like hitting refresh on the Facebook newsfeed and hoping that, you know, the next superstar coach is gonna come knocking on their door and just show up out of nowhere and be like, "Hi, I'm here. I'm ready to blow your business up. Let's do this thing." That'd be awesome, wouldn't it? Not gonna happen. Yeah, it'd be great. It'd be fantastic. It doesn't happen. Is the problem. And so, you know, staying busy, keeping the activity. But here's the follow-up question, I guess, is that, you know, we all do what we do because we have some motivation, right? Something is driving you to do this thing, because at some point it's inconvenient. At some point it's not a lot of fun. At some point there's just days you don't feel like doing it. At some point there are things that you'll have to sacrifice in order to have some success. So what was the thing that just kept you going? That's what I'm interested in.
So I feel like our whys can change over time at whatever season of life you're in. So what clicked for me, what changed for me at one moment was going through my divorce. You guys, if you want to, I mean, not to get into any like gory details, but I was married for 11 years, stay-at-home mom, no income of my own, financial control, but found out that he sucked at finances, so had nothing. We had nothing. So when we got divorced, no alimony, no, I got child support for a couple of months. Currently, I have all of the kids. So like I have Clark and Olivia living full-time with me, and he pitches in for groceries. He's in a bad place himself. He just kind of let himself, go into a bad place with his own personal surroundings. So that's kind of where he's at right now. So my motivation was, I did not want to have to, and I went back to work. I did get a job. I worked full time in the city, took the train every day, business development manager, which is basically a sales position for they basically found temp jobs for companies, right? So I worked with a recruiter, and I was the BDM that would go into these companies, and I hated it. Oh my gosh. I would go to the city, and it was like my territory was the city, but in the city, you can't go into buildings. I do well cold calling or talking to people in person. I'd much rather talk to people in person so you can have that connection. I had to sit and dial numbers all day on the phone. I was like, oh my God, somebody shoot me. Like, I hated it so bad. I stuck it out for 8 months. I had a full-time income. I had insurance. I insured my kids, schlepped myself down on the train, but I worked on that train. I would send out messages for Beachbody. I did my workouts, 4:00 in the morning. I did the things because that was my motivation then. I had to get out of that job. Ryan and I decided we wanted to get pregnant. I did not want to put my kid in daycare, and I wanted to be there more for Clark and Olivia too. I wanted to be able to like show up at their sporting events and like take a day off and go on a field trip if I wanted, not have to ask permission. So that then was my motivation. Do you want to know what my motivation is now?
Absolutely.
Because I worked hard. Oh gosh. So Ryan and I, we definitely knew Illinois was not our forever home. We did not want to stay here. I love my friends. I love the community that we know and love. And most of my team is here in Illinois. However, we knew that we wanted to move further south, go to Tennessee was our goal. And so we've been renting this townhome that he built when he was 24 years old. And then he decided to move to California and surf for 4 years. So his dad took over. So now we rent from his father. So we're living in this townhome by choice because we have a fabulous deal on rent. And now we can sock away all that money. So when I was working full time, I was taking my Beachbody checks. We paid off all of our debt, you guys. That's the other thing. You got to be smart with your money. Dave Ramsey is my man. And we paid off all of our debt, emergency savings, just really locked and loaded, just no date nights out. We would date night in, buy a $7 bottle of wine. And that's how we got ahead. So now we've been saving and saving. We're going to buy a house next year. We already been looking, and we're going to go down to the Chattanooga, Tennessee area. That's where we're moving. And that's been our motivation. Like, my motivation is I've got 3 kids plus my husband and I living in a 2-bedroom, 1,450 square foot townhome, you guys. I don't even know how I'm sane right now because it is like, holy crap. My workout area, where you guys see if you watch on my Instagram stories, also doubles as Olivia's bedroom that doesn't have walls because it's an open loft. We bought a trifold mattress for Clark, who sleeps down there, and then he gets up, puts his bed in the closet because he doesn't have a bed. Van, he gets his own room because he's 5 and growing, and the 5-year-old terror when they don't sleep. And then we have our bedroom plus a dog. So it kind of reminds me of my childhood when we had 5 kids living with no electricity, but we lived in this tiny little space. So I should be used to it, but at the same time, I'm like ready to pull my hair out of my head. So that is our motivation. Like, I'm like, all right, let's get up 5 a.m. Let's start working. Who are we going to message today? Who do we need to talk to about joining our team? Who can we help in our downline? Doesn't have to be our personally sponsored. Who can we help? Who needs my help? And that is my why. Get the F out of this house.
That's awesome. I love that. I want to just expand on, I'll have you expand on this really quickly, because this is something I am, especially with my friends, business partners, anybody who works with me, I'm gonna harp on you to save money. You're gonna get a heavy dose of that. But just talk about it real quick. I think this is one of the things we often lose sight of. I think you go to Summit. Summit's fantastic, and I think we're doing a better job of telling stories and showing people the real life impact than maybe we did a couple of years ago, where I think we got a little bit lost in like, let's just have a coronation of people on a bunch of different levels, and it was, I don't know, it was like the homecoming queen prom or something like that. But this business has the potential to create some very real impacts in your life. And when you talk about that, you can hopefully it comes through that you can feel it, right? You can feel what it's like to live in that cramped quarters, and how you wake up every day going, okay, here's another opportunity, another day forward, right? Where at some point all this activity is gonna culminate in some results, and that's the result I'm looking for. So it's just fundamentally, it's super important that you have something like that that's driving you, because otherwise you're just not going to do the thing, right? If you're super comfortable and you have everything you want in life, then you're probably not going to work super hard, because why would you, right? It's only when you have those things. So just real quick, just spend a sec on talking about saving money, Dave Ramsey, and what's helpful with that, and how'd you get started with that, and what do you do?
So I actually found out about Dave Ramsey. Total Money Makeover is the name of the book. First one I read through my brother. My brother is a rock star. Him and his wife, they paid off everything and had like barely any mortgage left. And he's like, was on me for so long. He's like, you got to read Dave Ramsey. You got to do Total Money Makeover. So I started, that really kind of started that activity, reading that book when I was going through my divorce. Because I wanted to know, and like we were already separated, like I was getting a job and all that, because I wanted to understand and figure out how I could maximize my income with Beachbody, because I knew that I didn't want to stay at that job that I had just gotten. So when I started applying that, I paid off, and Ryan and I together, because I met Ryan and we were like, he knew the situation and all that. So we decided like, listen, let's apply this together. I think between the two of us, we paid off like close to $11,000 in debt in 3 months. And that was just taking all the Beachbody income and then any extra that I had from my job. And then he was working at a different salon at the time. And he was just we were both like really, really determined, budgeting our groceries, like no going out, no manicures, no pedicures. Luckily, he was a hairdresser, so I could get my hair cut professionally still. So we started doing that. And then when I got pregnant, we both knew that we needed to continue doing that, because we knew at that time when I had Van, I wasn't going to go back to work. I wasn't going to be going to the city, figuring out daycare. It was just do or die. Like, we'll get by, because at that point, we could have gotten by on like $200 a week if we had to. We just knew how to do it. So when I was 8 months pregnant, I decided to leave that full-time job in the city about 8-month mark. I went back to Lululemon, because the way my brain was working is I'm going back to Lululemon, and those are women that are into fitness. Those are women that are in there spending buku bucks on yoga pants. Those are going to be my customers. And I utilized that. I love Lululemon too, so it was fun to work there, but I used that as a launching pad into growing my business more while I was buying time to retire, if that makes sense. I have some of my longest term customers that are now coaches, that are now lifelong friends, just from working part-time at Lululemon. And it helped me grow my business. So when I left, when I decided to retire, I was making not that much money, you guys. I wasn't rolling in thousands of dollars a week with Beachbody. It was just enough to pay the rent, the bills, and like groceries and the survival, put a little bit aside. I sat there and I would work my business on my phone while nursing Van, just like Jessica Dillavu does right now. She's doing the same. She reminds me of me 5 years ago, totally, 100%. And that's what I just did. I just kept going. And then you just never kind of walk away. You get a little comfortable. Like we've kind of got a little spendthrifty, like, oh, let's buy a new couch. We have extra money, or, you do it a little bit. But then I think just like with fitness, you just know when to like, okay, I've been eating too bad for too long. I need to step back onto so we just know what to do because we have read the book and we know the steps. And like if we feel like we're getting a little bit too spendthrifty, we just kind of reel ourselves back in and get back on the wagon. But we've been able to save. We're saving. I'm having surgery next month and I have to pay cash for that. We've got most of that saved in cash just because I've been putting money aside every week, every month. Anything extra goes to that. So we can just be smart about it,
Yeah, it is a lot like fitness. It's interesting you say that, right? It's like, okay, have a plan, right? That's what I heard, right? Is that you had a plan. The plan just happened to come from Dave Ramsey, who I am a huge fan of Dave Ramsey as well. And then, do you always stick to the plan? Well, no. I mean, occasionally, things happen, life happens, right? But you have the plan. You can always go back to the plan, right? The plan's the plan works, so you can always go back to the plan. And I think you said that like 3 times, like, well, when we had a baby, we're already doing this thing. So we knew we knew that plan would work. And I wanted to just spend some time touching on that because I think it's such a huge thing is that if you really want something that is kind of out there, maybe is a way to put it, you've got some big, scary goals. And especially if they're going to require a significant investment of money, you have to learn how to do this stuff. And most people do, like when you kind of get to this level and you start talking about, we're going to buy a home, right? That's not, that's a lot different than, oh, well, I want to make, $1,000 a month because of a student loan debt or, paying off a car or something like that. When you start to get to like, we're going to buy a home, like it's going to require another level of commitment, not just to the activity in the business, but to things like this that all play in, right? And if you want to get what you want to do, what you want, you're going to have to do some different things. And so I'm glad you touched on that. Let's talk a little bit about building a team, growing a team. At some point, I think everybody who gets to the level that you're at, and we'll talk about the 2-star stuff in a second. I want to talk more just like out here conceptually, like how you think about it. At some point, you make a decision. Okay, I see how this works. I need to grow a team, right? And I can't do this alone, or I'm just going to end up working a ridiculous amount of hours that I won't ever see my kids or your husband, which is not cool. But if I build a team, then it can move away from me and it can kind of grow independent of me. Like that's the realization that people get to in order to get to where you are now. So talk a little bit about, kind of how you initially saw that, whether it was a little scary, and then just how you went about it and what worked, and maybe what didn't work too.
Yeah. Gosh, I wish I had some magical, like, this is what I did, X, Y, Z, and then it grew. I mean, because I feel like some people are like, oh gosh, I wish I could do what you do and have a 5-star, be 6-star diamond or whatever. I feel, okay, so if I had to sit and like think about my people that, are diamonds right now, some of it is their work ethic. Plain and simple. I am just there saying, listen, you're a rock star. I'll use Jen Lemke. She is somebody that's been on my team for a long time now. She's a lifetime 4-star diamond. We have our ups and downs, all of us in our business, right? Like, so Jen's had ups, she has had downs. We all have. But I think the thing is showing that you believe in them. Making it a team. Like, I am not above my people. And I never want to come across like, I'm your sponsor, I'm your leader, I'm this. Jen has helped with team calls. She's helped with trainings. I've got a lot of leaders on my team that we are like shoulder to shoulder. And that's how I treat them. And I really hope that everyone watching this, my people will agree with me on that. I hope they don't come back and be like, wait a minute. I don't think they will, but I really feel like I respect my team so much, and I give them that, like, hey, can you run a training? Can you do this? I instill belief in them, or I do believe in them so much, and I tell them that. Like, I really think that, they're going to have to do the hard things. I can't do the invites for them. I can't show up and, sit at my computer or at their computer and do all the work or post on Facebook or Instagram stories. They have to do that. But I think the biggest thing is leading by example. You got to show up and do the things yourself if you want a team to do those things too. Can I use Monique as an example? I wonder if she's on. I can't tell who's on, but I want to use Monique as an example. She's one of my diamonds. And Monique, hi. It's so crazy because she's somebody that I just met for the first time at Summit. She was a customer lead. I had reached out to her. She never responded. Then lo and behold, she reached back out to me. We connected on the phone. She's like, tell me more about this coaching thing. How could this help me? And I'm like, let's get on the phone. And that's the other thing. Always get on the phone. Don't do everything email. That way you can hear each other and you can hear that excitement and that passion in your voice. I really believe in that. So with Monique, I remember her telling me that she didn't do social media. She had her Facebook account set to private. She wasn't really a Facebook person. And she's probably laughing right now. And I was like, okay, well, you're going to turn it to a public right now. And you're going to start posting. You're going to start sharing your story because you are such a unique and amazing individual. You're going to start talking about it. And lo and behold, she's a solid diamond right now. And she's growing and she does the thing. She goes on vacation and she sold a challenge pack to a guy at a restaurant while she was in Florida, I think. She's like just talking to a random stranger, sold a challenge pack to him. I'm like, you rock. So anyways, I wish I could be like, I did it all for Monique, but I just instilled belief in her. Like, I really just was like, gosh, you've got so much to offer people. Like, look at your credentials, look what you do, look how much you care about people. Now you're going to take that and you're going to use that. And she ran with it. I can't take credit for all the stuff she's done, but I think the one thing I can take a little credit for is just really believing in her and checking in on her. How's it going, Monique? Okay, listen, here's my goal. This is what you're going to do. We got to keep your business. Like, she knows what my goals are. I know what hers are. And just keeping that, that communication there, I guess, like really keeping the communication there with your team.
Yeah, I think there's so much there's so much in that. It's an interesting. It is a tough question. I sometimes ask a question and I go like, God, that's an impossible question to answer. How could you even ask her that? Yeah. But I also know that there is a certain amount of intentionality that goes into building a team. I think it's super important, and one of the things I encourage people to do, like when they sort of make that. Or even early on, really. I mean, anybody who works with me, we're going to talk about who your ideal customer is. I'm really asking you, the real question I'm asking you is, what's your vision for your team? Like, who do you want to be around? What does it look like for you? Do you want to be the queen, to use another, go back to the homecoming thing, or do you want to be in the trenches with people? Yeah. What does it look like for you? And there's no right or wrong answer. I happen to think your philosophy on it is a better path. I think it just does a couple of things. One, I think it lets people take ownership, and it lets them feel like they're doing something here that matters. They're not just another cog in the machine that keeps you at Star Diamond or whatever, right? They're actually a functional part of the experience that people have as a whole. And I think that's important. I think giving people ownership and allowing people to feel that way is super, super important. And just to be completely honest, it's something I've struggled with over the years. Because I'm very control oriented. I want to be in charge of everything. I think I have the solution to every single problem under the sun. And I've got to rein that in because that's my instinct, right? Mm-hmm. So the other thing that I think is important there is holding people capable. It's one of the things Monica talks about a lot. One of the skills here is hold people capable. Okay. Understand that people can do this. Okay. You're not a unicorn and neither am I, right? Anybody can do what we do if they're willing to make some changes. Like you talked about with Monique. I thought it was really helpful. Hey, you have some gifts. Go ahead, let's share them, right? Let's let people know about this stuff, and let's go ahead and expand that network of people. But holding people capable is incredibly important. And it's a fine line, right? Because at times you have to hold their hand in the beginning. You've got to hold their hand. You got to kind of push them a little bit at times. Sometimes you're pulling them, sometimes you're pushing them. But the goal should be for them to become independent leaders, And when you start to develop independent leaders, your business grows as a legitimate thing, right? And so that's a real philosophy that I think it is helpful. So I want to get into the 2-star stuff in 1 second. I have one more question.
Yeah.
What didn't work? And then by the way, I should tell you, I'm muting myself while you're talking and nobody can see me. So what didn't work?
Okay, so let's see. What didn't work? So what didn't work for me was focusing only on rank. That didn't work. So, and what happened was I got to 6-star and I was at 6-star for a while, but then if you just take that and you're like, oh, I'm at 6-star, I can just kind of like slide back and take a little vacation for a few months. And then you stop doing the things. Like, it's not like I wasn't working. I was still hitting Success Club and all that. But I kind of, I think I took a little bit of a back seat in terms of not reaching out as much, or kind of like taking things for granted, and like, oh, well, they're going to handle that. They'll just do whatever they need to do. The thing that doesn't work is stopping the growth. Okay. You always have to be recruiting. You cannot count on, you might have the best diamond coaches on your team. I'll tell you what, sometimes things happen. They might quit. Who cares if they're diamond? They might quit. They might drop rank. They might decide to go with another company, God forbid, like there's no guarantees. And you have to think of it as like, you're a business owner. Companies have, attrition or whatever, that people quit, right? So what didn't work for me was stopping my growth mode. I stopped recruiting as much. I stopped talking to people about the business opportunity. And that is still one of my weaknesses. I need to beef that up a lot more. But that was one thing for me that I realized, like, I dropped from 6-star back down to 4-star. My husband is a diamond, but he's this close to getting back to diamond. We're working on that right now with real people that want to build, not just like, hey, like Joe Blow, let's get him to sign on, just like, we want actual people that want to do this. Like, yes, you're going to have discount coaches. It's totally fine. But if all you're doing is recruiting discount coaches, you guys, it won't be lucrative. It might help you like fill in some spots because you need so many people to rank advance and things like that, but it's not going to be lucrative just to get discount coaches. So that's probably the biggest thing, is stop like going into the mode of, oh, I can take it easy. I don't need to recruit anymore because I've got a solid team. I'm happy with where I'm at. Getting comfortable. Oh my gosh, that doesn't work. If you get comfortable with where you're at with your rank and you stop doing the things that were successful actions to get you to that rank, you're going to go, like, nothing stays static in the universe. Nothing stays the same. It's either going to go up or it's going to go down. So it went down for me when I did that. So now I'm back in the building mode, and I'm excited.
Yeah. And it's a more fun place to be, right? Sure. It's a more fun place to be. And there's a lot of reasons. I mean, one, your business is just moving forward, and you usually that going to mean your paycheck's going up. But it's also the energy of the people you surround yourself with. It's like when you're surrounded with people who are complaining, or maybe they're just a little burned out, it's easy to get adopt that, even if it's not in the forefront of your mind. It's easy to just slip into that. But when you're dealing with people who are excited and they're energetic and they're fired up and they're messaging you because they just sold their first challenge pack, or something that seems real mundane to most people, like, oh, I made Success Club or something like that. But they're fire. You can just you feel their energy, and it's like, that's when it's fun. Like, this is when this business is really fun. Like when you're working with people like that, and it's just that energy and that kind of flow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I say one thing I'd like to do? I mean, because that kind of tails in with recognition, like, feeding off of what they're excited about, but also just like the little wins, like recognizing them. for years, I've been sending a little prize, like $5 or less for any personally sponsored coach that hits Success Club, 5 or 10, doesn't matter. And I send something, I think maybe I've missed a month here and there, but I try to be diligent. I feel like those little gifts or those little like tokens, and I always write a note in there, like how valuable they are and great job and stuff like that. I feel like little signs or thoughtfulness or whatever you're doing, sending them a little note like that goes a long way too. When somebody handwrites a note and says, hey, I appreciate you being part of my team, I appreciate what you're doing, that keeps that momentum going too. That also kind of fuels that momentum with your team.
It does. And it also really shows people that just that they matter, and you're thinking about them, and there's never a bad time to send somebody a handwritten note. That is just the 100% true. I always appreciate it when I get them. I need to be a little more diligent about sending them. I'll be honest. We do so much recognition. I feel like sometimes it just gets lost, and certainly stuff like that. It doesn't have. I was in a thread the other day, and people were talking about like, what do you get 2-star diamond coaches, which it will lead us into a little bit of a transition. And there were some kind of crazy gifts. And I was like, wow, like, okay, like that's pretty substantial. Like, okay. But, I think it's more about just making people know that they're appreciated.
Yeah.
Because that's the goal of recognition. It shouldn't be, again, the coronation, right? It should really be wow, like that's impressive.
Yeah.
And which leads us into a discussion that I want to get into here. We're 40 minutes in. One of the reasons I want to have you on the call is you're on the verge of going 2-star diamond again.
Yep.
Right. So we talked about this a couple of weeks ago on the compensation plan. It was pretty well received and people kind of got it. But the more I've talked with people on our team, people on other teams, my friends who nerd out on the comp plan, the people who understand how all this thing works, the more we're really getting to a point where if income is the goal, again, like if you want to buy a house, you need money, right? The best thing you can do is do what Carrie's doing right now. Same thing Cindy Tremblay just did, which is go 2-star 3 times, right? So you get your first business center to 2-star, your second business center to 2-star, and then you open up that third business center, get that thing to 2-star. Meanwhile, maybe building a spouse account. And so I think sometimes when I talk about this, people's eyes kind of roll back in their head and they kind of glaze over. So I have some slides here that hopefully will bring a little bit of order to this discussion, and then we'll kind of come back. So I want to just run over to this presentation real quick that I put together. It's not, a super polished item here, but whoops, that's not the right button. That's the right button. Let me move this up here. Okay, so 2-star diamond 3 times. So let's just talk about this really quickly from a conceptual standpoint, right? The first step is getting to Emerald. This is where everybody starts. It's pretty simple. It's you and 2 other personally sponsored coaches. This is kind of the most basic rank that there is. The next major rank is Diamond. I gotta see how I gotta run this. Is Diamond. And so here's the structure of Diamond. I've just kind of laid it out here for you so that you can see it visually. Basically, you have an Emerald on each leg and 3 other personally sponsored coaches. That's your basic structure to get to Diamond. Here's what a 2-star Diamond business looks like. And this is, Carrie talked about this a little bit earlier, just kind of frustrated because all of her diamonds were on one leg. Well, if all your diamonds were on, say, let me go back. If all your diamonds are on this leg and that other one doesn't, this person over here doesn't exist, you can't get to 2-star. You've got to have one on each leg. Even if you've got 10, 30 on the other leg, if you don't have the one on the weak leg or the other leg in this point here, you can't advance to 2-star. And it goes on like that. 5-star is the same way. You got to have 3 on one leg and 2 on the other, but at least you got to have that. You got to have the minimum, okay, of 2, I think, on one leg. So this rank is extremely important because when you get to 2-star, you get to open another business center. What that essentially means is you get to clone yourself, right? Except you're not cloning brand new you who doesn't know how to do this thing. You're cloning somebody who knows what the hell they're doing because you've been doing this for a while. So now you're cloning somebody who's a far more effective coach. So what that looks like is usually this. We all have one leg that's a little bit stronger than the other. It could be this one, it could be the other one. You have a weak leg, okay? When you get to 2-star diamond, what you get to do is open another business center. Now, what we're typically going to recommend, it's different for everybody. I love talking about this stuff. I love nerding out on this stuff. I love digging into people's businesses and helping them make these decisions. But a lot of times, here's what that looks like, is you end up opening your second business center under a spouse account, or it could be any number of different accounts in an area where you can really affect what's happening in your business. So I want to just look at this structure real quick. What's cool about this, okay, is not just the fact that now you are a 2-star diamond and you've got another business center, but if it's a spouse account, for example, here, and again, this is not universal, everybody's business looks a little bit different. What happens is now you can put your sales here, okay? So you're in a retail commission. So let's just take Shakeology, for example. 90 points of team volume and a 32.46 or something like that US dollars in commissions. Your first business center keeps that retail commission, and then that 90 points of volume rolls on up. Well, where's it go? Well, in this scenario, the first place it goes is through a spouse account, but it doesn't just skip all these people and go right to you at the top of the food chain here. It goes through everybody, which means that helps your personally sponsored diamond coach. It helps this coach. It helps this emerald. It helps everybody in the line of succession. What's going on is you're helping all these people drive volume, okay? If you do it right, you get to a point where the situation flips and the other leg becomes your weak leg and this leg becomes your strong leg. Everything else is the same, except now if you get to 2-star again, okay, so if you can build this business center now to 2-star, obviously it's not going to look like this. I don't have enough room for this thing to fit on a screen. Otherwise it gets so small. I actually tried that. But if you could build this to 2-star, you can open another business center anywhere in your organization, and you don't have to sponsor it to this business center. You could sponsor it up here to your first business center and put it over here on this leg, if this is the situation you get into. Now that's kind of a long way away, okay? But the major thing to just sort of understand is that this is the goal, okay? This is your goal, getting to 2-star. And when you get there, if you're kind of don't know where to place, please reach out to me. I love to talk about this stuff. It's one of my favorite topics, is helping people earn more money by effectively using the comp plan. The most effective way to use the comp plan is to go 2-star. Now, along the way, you heard Carrie talk about her business. It's not that linear, right? Because Carrie's got four, I think, on one leg, right? Am I right about that?
Yeah. Wait, I got that. Yeah, 3 on my right leg.
Three on one leg. So it's not always that clean, right? It grows a little bit differently. But now with being able to open another business center, you have a little bit more control. You get to leverage a little bit more. Now, if you just going back to my little, sorry, I skipped out of that too quickly. But if you go back to, boom, this setup, right? Now, let's say that, I hate this thing, go away. Let's say that you open, that this goes well, and then this business center also has a strong leg and a weak leg. And you put the next business center here, for example, right? So then the retail commissions happen here. This business center cycles off the volume. This spouse account cycles off the volume. And so does the first business center. That's how you grow this thing. Okay. If your goal is income, and again, if it's not income, that's not for me to make a judgment about, or anybody to make a judgment about, quite frankly. My job as a sponsor is to help you achieve your goals and live a healthier and more fulfilling life. If the way you want to do that doesn't look like making a bunch of money, buying a house, having some big goals, that's fine. That's fine. But if it is, which is what I hear from most people, that I work with and that I talk to, I've got some big dreams here, got some big goals here. I want to, stay as a stay-at-home mom, or I want to start a foundation that's going to have a fundamental impact on people and allow me to go do that and not have to spend all my time at a job where I'm just sitting behind a desk, pushing paper around, making money for other people, right? And I want to be out impacting lives. We work with pastors and I mean, all kinds of people, this broad spectrum of people. But if you have these big goals, 2-Star needs to be a piece of that puzzle. Okay. And so that one of the big things with this call today was I wanted Carrie to just kind of come on and lay out that foundation of like, okay, from a on the ground perspective, here's what it looked like for me. Okay. Yeah. Started out as a customer, then started to go, what is this thing? Then started to think, well, maybe this thing could help me get out of this situation that I'm in, that I'm not happy in. I'm not happy. This marriage is not working for me. The first marriage, obviously, is not working for me. I'm not happy. This is not a comfortable situation. I mean, just real quick, how much better do you sleep now that you're saving money versus where you were at when you had no control over your finances and then discovered not only do I not have no control over this, but the person who does have control over it isn't doing a very good job. I mean, how much better do you sleep now?
Right. Like a million times better.
Yeah.
A million times. Yeah.
Right. And why? Because she just chose to build a team, just recognize this thing for what it is, and that it's about growing an organization of people. And in order to do that, you have to start out with the end in mind. You have to understand that it's not there. At times it's about hand holding, at times it's about pushing people, but for the most part, it's about holding people capable of doing this thing, understanding that nobody in this business is a unicorn. We're all just individuals. We have different things we're interested in. We have different amounts we want to work. We all have different goals, helping people and supporting them in just getting those things. And when you do that, all of a sudden it grows. And all of a sudden you go to Summit and you got 20, 30 people there. You start to go, whoa, like, because it's not just you, right? When you get to the point that Carrie's at, it's not just you. It's you, your diamond coaches, their people, their emeralds, the emerging leaders on their team, the Jessica Dillavues of the world, right? Those people who are just starting to grow their business and get it off the ground. And again, that's when this is fun, because you surround yourself with that energy. And you surround yourself with that energy, it'll change your life. So I want to get your thoughts on all that now.
Oh gosh, yeah. So like, just in terms of going to start, well, first of all, when I opened up my second business center, I had no idea. I was like, what does that mean? I didn't know what it even meant. So now that I do, and I had the help of you, I believe you helped me. And then also, sorry, hold on one second. Olivia, you can leave the bathroom and go let him in. Sorry, Ryan's. Did you lock the front door? Sorry, this is the joys of living in a Cracker Jack box.
No worries.
Go let Ryan. He's locked outside. Okay.
Oh, he's locked out.
You know, this is my life. I got the dog.
I get it.
In the bathroom. She's getting ready for something. Okay. So one thing I will say is that once I grew that, or once I was able to open up that second business center, and I saw that my goal has always been to have a strong foundation with my business so that income was steady. Okay. Because this is my livelihood. Bills don't get paid. Food doesn't get bought. Things don't happen if money doesn't get made. Right. So for me, helping people is my main priority, but I don't really care so much about the rank as I do just that stability. And that's where I learned second star or going 2-star really creates that stability and that foundation, because there's no better coach on your team than yourself, right? When you clone yourself and do all that, that's, you know what you need to do, just like Dave said. Sorry, just like Dave said. So you know what you need to do. You know that you need to, work and like do the things. I will say this, a lot of people have, like when you've got your left leg, right leg, you've got your strong leg, whatever the most volume is. Normally that leg is where you'll see names, like Dave was saying, of people that you never sponsored. They're just coaches that filter underneath that help your volume. You get cycling bonuses on that once you're emerald or higher. I didn't really have that. This is the crazy part. So I had this additional barrier in my business where I was like, okay, I've got my right leg. It's my strong leg, but that was the leg I built from scratch. That's Jen Lemke and the Tracy and the Agatha and their teams that grew like wildfire. And then I had my left leg that had a few names. I was like, oh, who are these people? That's technically should be my strong leg because there are names there that I never personally sponsored, but that wasn't the case. So here I'm building both sides. I'm like building this side, and it just had a little extra, it took a little extra time, if that makes sense. Can you say hi to everybody? And now go away.
Buddy.
Anyway, so for me, that helped, like building that second business center really helped that volume on that side. And I strategically placed my second business center on my weak leg that needed the help with volume, and then placed it so the spot, like you can actually place it on a left or right leg, but I placed it so all my volume rolled up under my husband, who is also on my weak leg. So as an example, I just did like a volume just to see. I added up my income from July of 2018, and then I added up what my income for July of 2019 was, and it was almost double. And it's just from consistent working, growing, helping, all of that stuff. So, there was that moment in time where everyone kind of dipped down when we went from DVDs to BOD, but that's a whole nother thing. The point is, don't ever give up. Don't quit. Don't think that this objects are shiny somewhere else. You're going to make more money. You just keep doing your thing and it'll happen.
Yeah, for sure. And now, because it's not the graphic I showed, I can't really show the way it grows, right? Because the little figures would be just too tiny. You wouldn't be able to see them because there's so many other people. It doesn't show you, okay, well, to get to 2-star, there's 2 diamonds. Those diamonds have a bunch of people who come in as well. And then when you get that second business center to 2-star as well, the same thing's happening. You have solid volume distribution on both of the legs in that second business center. And the second business center then feeds up. And if you can feed it up through a spouse account and up to your first business center, all that drives it. And everybody in between those entities, that's the other thing I'm not really showing you when I do that graphic, because it just would be nuts, is all the people who are in between. It's not just, a bunch of personally sponsored coaches and a couple times. It's not like that. There's, because it takes years often. And there's probably a couple hundred people in between you and your first business center. All of those people have the ability to benefit off of that volume that you generate. And
that's why everybody needs to go Emerald so they can unlock that.
Absolutely. They have the ability. They have to go Emerald. Yep. And I think it's probably the greatest example of what you said, which is leading from the front and leading by example, right? Going 2-star, driving all that volume through everybody's business center. And then, as a suggestion, sit down with those folks, those Emerald coaches who've been kind of sitting there for a while. When you're an Emerald coach, not only do you have the ability to get team cycle bonus, but carryover volume. We talked about that on the call a couple of weeks ago. Carryover volume becomes a thing, which means it starts to accumulate probably just on the one leg, but whoever's got that on their one leg has a lot of carryover volume built up because you have been driving volume under them. It's one of these things about our business that people think somehow, oh, well, I know it's a pyramid scheme, right? What that means is the people at the top are the only ones who get paid and all the people below them do all the work and they make all the money. And that's not how this works, especially when we start talking about building through multiple business centers and stacking those business centers. Now, I don't know if necessarily you're the most productive person because there's some pretty productive people there, but you're one of the most productive people in your organization through that second business center, soon to be, a third business center.
Yeah. Yeah. When you get a Kelly Strom or a Jen Haft or, people like that in your downline, it's like, that's what you want. Or you've got like the Cindy Tremblays of our team,
Exactly.
That's fantastic. You just never know.
Right. And you don't. And I guess we'll just kind of wrap and go back to, the top. And I think the overarching thing with Carrie's story and everything she's talking about is really don't give up, and stick with this thing. It's worth the time that you'll invest in it. If you're doing the right things, bang your head against the wall every month, trying to make Success Club is not very much fun. We've all been there. We know that it's sort of a necessity, but it's not a lot of fun. Building a team and helping people grow and helping people do this thing, starting to watch them have the same aha moments that you had and feeding off of their energy and their excitement. That's 12 years later. That's what has me getting up excited to do the business, is that I know that I have opportunities to talk to all these different people who they're in just super growth mode. That's fun. That's exciting. That brings me back. And I go, okay, I got to get out there. I got to do the same thing, even if I don't want to today. Because why? Well, because I got to be doing the same thing I'm asking everybody else to do, you know, and that's where I think it gets fun. So anything else to close it?
Yeah, no, I think, you know, just keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate. The business activity tracker, I guess it's called the Success Club tracker, is like, I have people that reach out and they're like, well, tell me what to do. I haven't done this business in so long. I've just been kind of sitting on the sidelines. Now I feel like I don't know what to do to get started again. Start there. Print out those things, print them out, start checking off the items. It is as simple as that. It really is. So you can gain all the knowledge in the world. You do all the trainings in the world. Until you apply it, it means nothing. Because if it sits up here and you're not doing something with it, your business won't grow. So just start applying it. Even if you're not good at it yet, just start doing the things. It's all good. You'll be fine. You'll all be good. Yeah. That's
all right.
it.
Hey, thank you so much for the time. This was awesome. Super valuable call. I wish I had recorded it. We'll figure out how to pull the recording off of the Facebook Live, which Mike Rapinko knows how to do. So I will go and talk to him and have him remind me how to do that, because I want to just have it recorded and have it in the separate thing as a sort of a little bit of a preview for next week. Hopefully, we're going to start a whole new section in the FCN coach training for the compensation plan and for maximizing the compensation plan. This call will be a part of that. Beachbody's also produced a new series of videos explaining the compensation plan. So instead of kind of sprinkling